Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Sometimes the loudest scream is silence. And today, the silence around Wang Yibo isn't just deafening. It's terrifying. As fans around the world wake up to heartbreaking headlines, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Wang Yibo, the unstoppable force of Chinese entertainment, is no longer standing tall. He's fighting for his life. And in the middle of that storm, one man refuses to leave his side. Xiao Zhan. But this isn't just a story about collapse. It's about brotherhood, sacrifice, hidden truths, and one breathtaking act that no camera captured. Until now, the world didn't just stop. It held its breath. In a culture saturated with headlines, trends, and fleeting distractions, there are rare moments when something cuts through the noise and forces silence. That moment arrived the second the news about Wang Yibo's critical condition broke. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was a simple, stark update that shattered the rhythm of millions of hearts. He was no longer stable. It's difficult to describe what happens when someone who seems untouchable suddenly appears so vulnerable. Wang Yibo has always been more than a performer. He's a symbol of quiet strength, precision, and passion. He rarely speaks much, but everything he does is calculated, polished, and powerful. So when his collapse was announced, it wasn't just a health crisis. It felt like a fault line opening beneath something we all believed was solid. There was no footage. No chaotic images, only the weight of absence. No one could fully explain it, yet everyone felt it. Fans didn't scream, they paused. And in that pause, something profound emerged. A collective stillness filled with fear, hope, and memory. The man who had brought energy to stages, screens, and hearts was now still. And that stillness was louder than any performance he had ever given. In that moment, fans across borders became one, united not by fandom, but by fragile humanity. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was sacred, a space where grief, love, and fear collided. A rare second in modern history where the noise stopped, and a single soul struggle was felt around the world. Inside the ICU, time moves differently. The world outside rushes forward with noise and light. But within those sterile white walls, everything slows to the rhythm of a fragile breath. It is here, behind heavy doors and silent glances, that the public image of Wang Yibo fades away, and what remains is something achingly human. Stripped of stage lights, makeup, and perfection, he lies motionless, surrounded not by adoring fans, but by blinking machines and whispered medical jargon. Witnesses say the room is dim, almost reverent. Nurses move with quiet urgency, tending to him as if every touch might tip the balance. Doctors speak in coded fragments, avoiding eye contact with each other when the numbers drop. In the corner, Xiao Zhan remains, a presence both steady and shattered. He does not weep. He does not speak. But his silence is the loudest voice in the room. Some say he spends hours beside the bed, repeating Yibo's name like a fragile chant, willing him back from whatever edge he's standing on. There are moments when the machines scream, alarms triggered by dips in oxygen or sudden heart rate spikes. In those moments, the calm breaks. But Xiao Zhan does not. He simply grips the edge of the bed tighter, refusing to let go. This is not a scene for cameras or social media. It is raw, real, and devastatingly quiet. And yet, in that silence, there is also love. A kind of fierce, defiant hope that clings to life no matter how slim the chance. These are the moments the world will never see. Moments not meant for headlines but for hearts. Inside the ICU, the fight is not glamorous, but it is sacred. And for those who truly care, that is enough. It wasn't a grand statement or a public act that revealed Xiao Zhan's heart. It was something far quieter, almost invisible, yet profoundly moving. In an age where gestures are often designed for visibility, his choice to remain unseen became the most powerful expression of love and loyalty. While others speculated, posted, and trended hashtags, Xiao Zhan simply stayed. No press releases,
No imous channel vídeos.
Just presence, silent, constant, unwavering. Inside the hospital, his presence became part of the room. Nurses began to expect him, not as a visitor, but as someone who belonged there. He didn't ask questions or demand updates. Instead, he watched. He listened. He stayed beside the person he once shared stages and screens with, not as a co-star, but as something deeper. Some say he barely slept, refusing to leave the hospital floor even when told to rest. Others whispered that he often brought a book, never reading it, just holding it open while watching the rise and fall of Yibo's breath. And then, the gesture, so simple, yet it moved even the most hardened hospital staff. A folded note left on the nightstand, written in Xiao Zhan's hand. No cameras saw it. No one posted it, but someone read it. If your eyes open, I'll be here. If they don't, I still will. That note wasn't meant for fans or fame. It was a quiet promise between two people who've walked through shadows together. Xiao Zhan's gesture wasn't dramatic. It didn't need to be. In a world obsessed with noise, he chose stillness. And in that stillness, he revealed a truth few ever show. Real love doesn't need witnesses. It just needs to be there, faithfully, even when the world isn't watching. Fame is a strange kind of light. It shines brightly, casting everything in gold, smiles, performances, moments frozen in adoration. For years, Wang Yibo stood confidently in that light, not just admired for his talent, but revered for his discipline, his quiet charisma, and a work ethic that seemed superhuman. He danced until his muscles trembled, filmed through exhaustion, smiled even when the weight behind his eyes hinted at something heavier. To the world, he was tireless, untouchable, a rising force with no ceiling. But even the brightest stars cast shadows. What the world didn't see or chose not to was the cost. The sleepless nights, the crushing expectations, the loneliness behind packed schedules and glittering red carpets. Slowly, quietly, the signs emerged. His steps a little slower, his presence a little dimmer. Interviews grew shorter, his voice quieter, and his gaze often lingered on nothing at all. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow fade, a silent descent from stardom into something more uncertain, more human. Now, with Wang Yibo lying in an ICU, stripped of image, makeup, and applause, the shadow is undeniable. Yet it is not shameful. It is not failure. It is the truth behind the image, the fragile soul behind the strength. This moment reveals a reality too often buried by fame, that even those we believe to be made of steel are flesh, blood, and burden. And perhaps, in this fall from dazzling heights, there is a deeper kind of beauty, one not born from perfection, but from the courage to keep breathing in the dark. Wang Yibo may have stepped out of the spotlight, but in doing so, he has stepped into something far more real. Across continents, in cities separated by oceans and languages, something remarkable unfolded. News of Wang Yibo's condition did not simply travel. It struck like a wave, and the ripple became a tide of shared emotion. From Seoul to Paris, Manila to Toronto, fans found themselves united not by trend or gossip, but by a deep, almost personal sense of grief. What was once a distant idol suddenly felt painfully close, as if a friend, a brother, a light in their lives had dimmed without warning. But their response wasn't chaotic. It wasn't loud. It was human. In Japan, silent vigils were held outside music stores that once played his songs. In Thailand, handwritten notes were tied to trees with ribbons in his name. In Canada, fans donated blood and shared messages of hope, turning concern into action. The Philippines lit candles not just in homes, but in schools, cafes, parks, places where his music and roles had quietly become part of people's daily lives. In France, subway artists painted small tributes on walls, unsanctioned but sincere. What united them wasn't fandom, it was love. Not the screaming kind, but the quiet, enduring sort that remembers birthdays, that follows a journey not just for the glamour, but for the person behind it. They didn't ask for statements. They didn't demand explanations. They simply showed up, for him, for each other. In a fractured world where attention is fleeting and loyalty rare, The reaction to Wang Yibo's struggle was a rare moment of global empathy. Not curated, not commercial, just thousands of hearts, across dozens of cultures, choosing to care. It was proof that connection, once sparked by art, can evolve into something much deeper. When he fell, the world didn't turn away, it held him up, together. Long before the flashing lights and roaring crowds, before their names were etched into headlines and fan chants echoed across stadiums, there was something quietly forming between Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan. It wasn't announced. It wasn't curated for the cameras. It simply grew quietly, steadily, forged not by the spotlight, but in the spaces behind it. What connects them isn't just shared fame or a successful collaboration. It's something far more sacred, a bond shaped by silence, resilience, and unspoken understanding. When one rose, the other applauded without envy. When one stumbled, the other stood nearby, not for credit but for comfort. Their friendship never needed grand declarations or orchestrated posts. It lived in moments the world rarely saw, an exchanged glance during a chaotic shoot, a supportive message behind the scenes, a hand on the shoulder when words failed. And now, as Wang Yibo lies in a fragile state, that bond is being tested, not in its strength but in its depth. Xiao Zhan has made no spectacle of his loyalty. He doesn't need to. His presence at the hospital, constant, unwavering, speaks more than any statement ever could. It is a kind of love the entertainment world rarely shows. Quiet, unbranded, deeply human. In an industry that thrives on image, this bond is refreshingly real. Fame brought them together, but it is not what keeps them connected. It is the simple, powerful truth of standing by someone not because it's expected, but because it matters. And in this moment, with so much uncertain, that bond is a lifeline, not just for them but for everyone watching. It reminds us that behind the glitter of fame, the truest connections are always the ones made in the dark. No one truly knows what tomorrow holds. The cameras have stopped clicking, the updates have slowed, and the world stands on the edge of a question with no clear answer. What comes next? For Wang Yibo, once a figure of tireless energy and silent strength, the future is no longer mapped out in schedules or scripts. It now lives moment by moment, breath by breath, inside a room where the world outside feels far away. Each hour is a prayer. Each silence is a waiting. For Xiao Zhan, standing in the shadows of this uncertainty, the future is equally fragile. Fame, so often a force that pulls people in different directions, now binds him to a single place, a single hope. He has chosen to pause his world for another's. Not because it's expected, not because it will be seen, but because he believes presence can sometimes be more powerful than action. What comes next for him may never be public, but it will be felt. And for the fans, spread across every continent, the question lingers like a quiet ache. They search for signs in every post, every silence, every whisper from someone who might know more. Yet in this stillness, they've discovered something profound. A deeper patience, a stronger empathy, a willingness to hold space for healing, however long it takes. The truth is, we may not receive the ending we hope for, or it may arrive gently, slowly, wrapped not in drama, but in peace. But whether Wang Yibo returns to the stage or chooses a quieter path, he will not walk it alone. What comes next is unknown. But perhaps the most powerful part of this story is not how it ends, but how many hearts are willing to wait for it. In this story, there are no villains, only humans. One who gave everything and one who refuses to give up on him. So tonight, light a candle. Say a prayer. Not just for Wang Yibo, but for every artist we forget is human too. Folded hands if this story moved you. If you believe in love without condition, friendship without cameras, and strength in silence, then please subscribe to this channel. We'll continue to share the untold stories behind the lights, the love behind the lens, and the truth that fame often hides. Stay kind, stay strong, and remember, even stars need saving sometimes. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe, like, share. Your support may just be the light someone needs today.